Well, hello, and I'm Rhykerd, and welcome to the ISU Farm up at Lexington. So we're going to give you a little tour today of the farm and some of the functions and activities that go on here. But first, since we're an academic department, just a little history lesson. So as you all probably know, or maybe not, the Department of Agriculture was founded in 1911, and the ISU Farm started in 1914, just a few years after that. The original location of the farm, do you know where that was? Well, actually it was right there on Main Street, right where Hancock Stadium is now, and Redbird Arena, and kind of that portion of campus. And there's still one building left there. The Glass House is one of the original buildings on that farm. That was there until about 1960, and then the farm moved all the way out to Gregory Street. And there's still some remnants of the farm out there that you can see. There's a few buildings left, and of course there's some corn and soybean production that goes on out there. And then in 2002, the farm moved up here to Lexington, and we've been here ever since. This farm is a 440-acre farm, and up here now we have obviously beef cows, which are right here behind me, and also pigs and sheep production. We do primarily corn and soybean production up here, but we do other specialty crops as well. And as you'll see today, we've also got a lot of research going on with cover crops, and we also have a wonderful composting facility. So with that, we're going to take a tour of the farm. So I want you to virtually come with me. We're going to go look at a lot of the activities that go on this farm and see what all kinds of things are happening today up here in Lexington. All right, well, welcome to the sheep barn, one of everybody's favorite stops when you're having a tour of the ISU farm. I've got with me today, Otis the llama is with us, and Otis actually in the sheep barn has a very important function. Otis helps protect the flock. And so we do have coyotes up here at the farm, and Otis is pretty good at keeping those coyotes away from the farm. So we're grateful to have Otis up here. Hey, one of the really important things about all the different livestock operations up here at the ISU Farm is tying this back into the curriculum within the department. So let's kind of take a big picture of what our student body looks like. We've got about 400 students in our program at the undergrad level, and about half of those are studying in one of our animal sciences sequences. So that could be either pre-vet science or animal science, and we also have an animal industry management sequence. But we've got right now, of our population in the United States, less than 2% of people are raised on farms, and of the people on farms, even less than that come from farms with livestock. So a lot of our students that are coming to us now really don't have any experience with livestock. So these barns and the labs that we have up here are really important in training our students the basic skills of animal care so that they can get good jobs out of the animal industry when they graduate. So again, we've got sheep in here. These are used for teaching and research purposes, as are all of our animals. A lot of the research that goes on up here at the farm focuses on nutrition. We also do some reproductive type work, so we're looking at trying to improve the reproductive cycle of producing animals. And then we've got one of our professors that does meat science, and let's just say he makes bacon in his lab. So, that's a pretty good end product of what's going on up here. So again, a lot of really great teaching and research up here, and a lot of great educational opportunities for us up at the ISU Farm. All right, well, welcome to our compost facility here at the ISU Farm up in Lexington. Right behind me here, we've got a 15-acre facility where we're mixing manure from all the livestock on the farm along with yard waste from the town of Normal. So, we just saw some of the livestock facilities, and one of the things we produce a lot of up here is manure, and we need to do something with that. We need to treat that in a responsible manner, right? We just don't want that washing off and getting into streams and creeks. And also, the town of Normal, they generate a lot of landscape and yard waste, right? So you think especially in the fall when the leaves are coming down, but also after storms and so forth, people are putting all that yard waste and so forth out at the curbs. It gets picked up, and if you ever wondered where that went, well, it goes right here. And so we mix the livestock waste along with the yard waste and compost it, and it makes a very wonderful, very nutritious, nutrient-rich compost material that's available to the public. So we sell that. You can contact the farm manager and come up here during normal operating hours, and they'll fill up a pickup truck for you, and you can put that in your gardens and flower beds, and it does amazing things for nutrition in the soil. We also use the compost up here in research trials. So again, it's got a lot of nitrogen and phosphorus in it, plus the organic matter from the compost. And so we use that in research trials and compare using compost and compare that to things like synthetic fertilizers to look at the impact on crop production. All right, so speaking of crops, on our next stop, we're going to go take a look at some of the crops that are grown on the farm. We're standing in a plot of pennycress. So pennycress is probably not a crop that a lot of us have heard about, and actually, if you are familiar with pennycress, you've probably heard of it as a weed. We have a researcher here on campus in biology, Dr. John Sedbrook, who's using CRISPR technology to improve pennycress to make it a desirable winter cash crop. But before we get into that, let me just back up and let's consider two very serious issues facing society worldwide. One is global climate change, and one of the concerns with global climate change is the increase of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and the other is water quality. And one of the issues we have there is there's some nutrients that are running off our agricultural fields. Pennycress may be able to address both of these issues. This is a winter cash crop. So we think of like corn and soybeans are our summer cash crops here in Illinois. We raise those and we sell the grain at the end of the season, and that's how we make money. One of the concerns we've had with winter cover crops is it's an additional expense to farmers. Now they provide some wonderful benefits to the farms, and these are things we call ecosystem services. And by that I mean they can actually take some of those greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, out of the atmosphere, trap them in plant material, right? That's the photosynthesis process. Plants are taking CO2 out and growing plant biomass. So they can remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere during the winter months when normally our fields are fallow. And additionally, they can help us with reducing the amount of nutrients that are running off of our agricultural fields. So again, in the winter months when our fields are fallow, and as we move into the spring before planting, there's no roots pulling nutrients out of the soil, but these plants do that for us during the fall months, winter, and into the spring as well. So it provides a lot of those benefits. But this plant in particular also has an advantage. It's going to form an oil seed somewhat similar to soybeans, and that seed then can be processed and we can make renewable fuels out of it, things like biodiesel or renewable jet fuels. So that's a real advantage of this crop, and it can also, the seeds can also be fed to livestock. So it fits in nicely with our farming rotations here in the Midwest, where we're growing corn or soybeans primarily in the summer. We would come in and plant this in the fall after harvest, and we're going to come in and harvest this. This will be ready to be harvested in about a week or two, and then we can come back in and plant our summer cash crop. And we're standing right now in the Compeer Financial Classroom, and this was a classroom that was made possible by a generous donation from Compeer Financial and really helped improve this facility. So this was an antiquated classroom and non-ADA compliant, and so the funding allowed us to really bring this classroom up to modern standards, and now has all the amenities that you would expect in a leading classroom. So we've got wireless access to the internet, smart classroom technology. Again, it's ADA compliant to get in here. And this room serves a lot of functions up here at the ISU Farm. So for example, many of our ag science courses meet up here and for the pre-lab part of their classes. So if a class is coming up here to work in a barn for the day or out in one of the fields or look at some equipment, they might come in here first to have a pre-lab where they're learning about what they're going to see during that day. Also maybe have a quiz in here if it's time for something like that. And then, so that'll be maybe a short part of the class, and then they can go out into the farm for those experiences. This room is also heavily utilized for a lot of outreach type activities. So we do host a lot of ag companies that will come up here for field days. The department also sponsors field days, so things like cover crop field days or just agronomy field days in general. And then this room is also available to the public as well. So we have had different groups that have come up here and taken advantage of utilizing this facility. So again, it's a wonderful classroom, and all made possible by, again, a very generous gift from Compeer Financial. Alrighty, well, thanks for taking the tour with us today and checking out the ISU Farm. It's wonderful that you know, you were able to join us virtually like this, but if you ever have questions about the farm, or if you want to come visit in person, we welcome the opportunity to give tours. We would just ask that you contact the farm manager or contact the department to make those arrangements. We also love to do tours for groups. So educational groups are always welcome, but we've had other groups out here as well, so certainly would love to have that. But again, I want to thank you for spending a little time with us and seeing what all goes on at the ISU Farm, and hope you all have a wonderful day.